Right, guys. So, have you ever wanted like a blueprint or some sort of formula to make sure you were making the right decisions, make sure you're making the right choices? Um, that was something I always wanted. I didn't want it to be based off other people's perceptions, other people's um, analysis, or their influence, even. And that's kind of what I've always strived for. I grew up I grew up in a religious household, but and just like when you read religious texts, religious books, or even like philosophy, they really kind of tell you what to think. They don't really teach you how to think, if that makes sense. So even as a little kid, I'd always ask a lot of questions. And so I really just always I wish I had like a formula that was completely unbiased, and unregulated by different beliefs and religions and preconceived notions. So in the last couple of years, I've been working on something, and just most of it in my mind, and half of this I already it really helped me once I kind of figured out what I wanted. So the other half I've been working on just the last few months, just to kind of put it all together. And this is actually my first time putting it all together into one, and that's also why I'm recording it, just to kind of see if I have any like epiphanies in the middle of it, and maybe if I learn something about myself. But in this video, I'm gonna just show you the framework. I'm not gonna try to influence it any way, your framework, and then I'm gonna do this later myself. So I highly encourage you to just do the framework with me, and then pause the video anytime you need to. That way you can fill it out. The first thing you're gonna need to do is fill out a piece of paper like this. After I made it, I realized I probably needed to spread these out a little bit more, and it may take multiple sheets of paper, guys. I mean, this could be like, I don't know. Like I said, this is just the framework, but I really wanted it all on one sheet of paper. That way it'd be easy to understand for people. But let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna write at the bottom left, we're gonna write beliefs. So BELIEF, belief. Is here at the bottom, nothing fancy. And what that's an acronym for is first, and we're just gonna build from the bottom up. So first we're gonna do background. Second, environment. So I don't know how you need to space this out. Then love, identity, and then emotions, and then last, future. So how we're gonna fill this out is, I want you on the far left hand side of this paper, you're going to write out all the negative experiences you've had in your life because of these things. So for instance, for background, and some people may call these limiting beliefs, some people may call these negative experiences. Whatever makes sense for you, call it that. Let's say you grew up in a rough neighborhood, or maybe you didn't come from the best family, or you grew up poor, or you grew up in an abusive household. Whatever it may be, right? Those is all the negative things people could use as an excuse to why they're not achieving the life that they want, or whatever it may be. So just write that all down for background, okay? So go ahead and pause the video right now and go and fill all that out, okay? So now that you've done that, the next thing you're gonna fill out is for your environment. So what are some negative things about your environment? So maybe you live in a poor neighborhood or a rough neighborhood now, and this is your current surroundings. So, maybe you have a spouse that's unsupportive, or maybe you have a low paying or dead end job, or just whatever it may be. Right, all the negative things about your current environment. So it's a little bit different from your background, obviously. So write all that down, and then go ahead and pause this video right now so you can fill all that out. And like I said, guys, there's not a lot of room, so if you need to write shorthand, or if you need to write on a separate piece of paper, I completely understand. And then next, you're gonna write down love, and this is just the things that you love, but but maybe they're not beneficial to you. Maybe you love to, I'm just saying, drink or alcohol. Like maybe you actually do love it. Like I do love it. I'm not gonna lie. I love to drink and party, but it's probably not the best for me. And I try to be, I guess I almost said respectful, not respectful. What's the word I'm looking for? Responsible. That's the word I was trying to say. And obviously I don't allow, I'm not going to go party on a Monday, and today's Monday, middle of the day, but maybe on a weekend I'm going to go out and have fun and drink with my friends and stuff. But anyways, so maybe things you love, but they're just, maybe it's an addiction, something you love, but it's not helping you. Next is how you identify. This is very important. Next is how you see yourself in this world, how you see yourself as a human, how you see yourself to your family, just how do you identify, but maybe that are negative. That's what I forgot to say. I remember these are all the negative things. So maybe like for me, not in my case, but I'm Mexican. Some people may see that as a negative. They may say, well, I can't succeed because I'm Mexican, or I can't succeed because I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm too skinny, I'm too fat, so just some negative ways that you may identify that just haven't been serving you, haven't helped you. Some next is emotions. So what are some emotions that may hold you back? Like I'm an angry person, or maybe you don't feel a certain way about a certain group, or you do feel a certain way about a certain group of people. Maybe you don't like a certain race, or you don't like a certain people from certain countries. Like what are some emotional things that hold you back? Maybe you haven't even thought about some of these before. Maybe these are, I'm trying to get you to say your words, not my words. But what are some things that you just really can't bother you? Maybe you don't know why. Maybe you don't know why certain things bother you. And then future. So what are some negative thoughts that you have about the future? Like I'm just thinking of some silly ones like AI or aliens coming, or but I want you to be serious obviously with this. But what are some things that you believe, like maybe the world is going to hell, and or maybe like the economy is going to fall apart, or whatever it may be. Just write down all the negative beliefs that you have about the future. So like I said, guys, I go ahead and take the time to fill this all out. That's what I'm going to do right after this video. I'm going to fill all this out. I write really small, so I'm going to try to fill it all in there, but if not, I'll write it on a separate piece of paper, whatever I need to do. So that's what you're doing right now, okay? And then next, I haven't decided how I wanted to split this up, but yeah, let's go ahead and do the positives to all that right now. While we're freshly thinking about it, I want you to think about the positives for each one of those now. So we wrote all the negatives right here. On the right, we're gonna write all the positive things about that. So what are some positive things about your background? Maybe, like I said, for me, I grew up in a poor neighborhood, but it gave me a lot of experiences. I was, my best friends were white, black, and Mexican, so I have and my stepsisters were white, and my stepdad was white, so I have zero racism. I don't even understand racism, to be honest with you. Like, I guess I consider myself like the black sheep of the family. So like for me, like I feel like everything I've experienced has helped me, like to not be racist, also to not be like prejudiced towards people, just, but so what are some positive things about your background? Like, oh, you know what, or maybe you had like an illness that, and you're like, that actually made me a stronger person. Or maybe you had an abusive childhood. And like, for instance, I had an abusive stepfather, and I think that made me a stronger person because I got to see firsthand. I'm like, man, like he was actually extremely abusive, but he actually cared. Like he actually tried. Obviously I don't, I would never wish that upon anybody, but the way I look at it is like, well, it made me a stronger person, and I moved on, and that's just who I am. And next are some environment with some positive things. Like, for instance, I'm in Cancun right now, so I get to see the best of the world, and sometimes I get to see like really, poor people. There's still homeless people here, so it's like, man, like I get to see like both sides. So that's what I love about Cancun, is you get to see the beauty, paradise, but I also see people in their own element. So just like as I think of all the positive things about your environment, whether it's the weather or whatever it may be, just think of positive things about your environment. And the third one's gonna be easy. Things you love, like you love to go out. What are some positive things about the things you love? What are some good things, like if you're passionate about helping people, like write that there. Whatever, just something you love that helps you be a positive person. Next, what are some good things about how you identify? Because like I said, all those things about myself, like I identify as a good person. I think I'm a good person, so maybe that's gonna help me. And like I said, I identify as Mexican, but I also just mostly identify as a human being. So I don't hold prejudice towards or against people. So that's a good thing. Emotions, like I have I think I'm very empathetic now. In the past, I probably wasn't. So those are some good emotions I have that help me out, that benefit me. And also future, like I'm very optimistic about the future. Like I'm insanely optimistic. And that was one of the reasons I'm doing this video, because I have these big goals. I have these big like dreams, and I'm just like, how do I get to that level, So how do I get to where I need to be based on where I'm at? So that's where main reason I'm doing this video is so I could focus on the future and how do I get to where I'm at. So that's what we're gonna cover next. Go ahead and fill all these out as best you can. If it takes you a day, if it takes you an hour, if it takes you a minute, whatever, go ahead and fill all these out as best you can, okay? So go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Completely understand, we'll be right here. So, all right, so hopefully you've filled everything out. Your whole left-hand side of your page is filled out as best you can, and whatever works for you. But next we're going to do on the far right here at the bottom of your sheet of paper, I want you to write dreams. So for dreams, it's DREAMS. So just write it here at the bottom, just to kind of give you like a, we're moving from from the left-hand side to the right. So on the right-hand side, you're gonna write dreams. So starting at the bottom, you're gonna write desire. So what are some things you desire? So is it better health, more wealth, better relationships? What are some things you desire? I believe God speaks to us through desire. And I use the word God. You can use the word universe, source, Mickey Mouse, Santa Claus. I don't really care. Whatever fits best in your personal vocabulary, do that. Like I said, I'm using the word God. You can use whatever. You can substitute out whatever word you want. So that's first is desire. So think about where you're at. What you want out of life. So, just think just something like, it doesn't even have to matter. Like, just write down the first things you think about, whether it's for desire. Next, you're gonna write down is your reality. For reality, where are you at now? Like what are some things in your reality? It's similar to what you did on the left-hand side. And that's kind of why I tied these both together. The far right I had already done before. So it really helped me just kind of see things clear. But I didn't have like all the framework, all the background. So that's why I added the what I did before to this stuff. So just write down like where you feel like you're at right now. Maybe you don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, but that's just where you're at right now, okay? Next is I want you to evaluate how you get from your dreams to reality. So what are some things you need to do? Like, maybe if it's you want to lose 10 pounds, maybe you need to start doing weights, or maybe you need to start a diet, or maybe you need to start running every morning. What are some things you think about? Just write that down. The first thing that comes to mind. Like I said, guys, pause the video anytime you need to. Just how do you get from where you want to be to where you're at, okay? And the next is action. You just got to do it. So the first thing that came to mind, that's the first thing you need to do. So if it was, if it was quit your job, or if it was break up with your girlfriend, or if it was, start working out, or if it was build a website, the first thing you thought of, that's what you need to do. You've kind of cleaned out some of the cobwebs in the corner, on the first part of this exercise, the second part of this exercise is kind of like, well, what do I need to do next? So then you're gonna do the action, and then next you're going to maintain. So maintain means, like I said, you know, if you want to lose 10 pounds, then you need to continue that action that you've committed to until you've lost those 10 pounds. So, you know, running one day isn't going to lose 10 pounds, but running every day for a month may lose you 10 pounds. Or, you know, if you're trying to be a millionaire by the time by the end of the year, then you need to actually maintain that. And then last I have, and I always wondered if it should be succeed or sustain, because once you get there, you gotta stay there. You know, what's the point of losing 10 pounds if you gain 12 the next month? So succeed or sustain, which it's actually a little bit of both. First you succeed and then you sustain it. So that's just kind of, and like this first part, this second part was an exercise I did, like I said, about 2 years ago, and it really helped give me clarity. So that's what I'm hoping that it'll give for you. But this last part is the most important, I believe, and that is why. So here at the bottom, I want you to write why. So why do you want to achieve these things? Why do you want to do these things? So I don't want to put any thoughts into your head, but why do you want to achieve that desire? So let's say, so write that down, whatever the first thing to come to mind. Like I said, I don't want to put anything in your head. I want this to be all your answers. So why do you want to achieve that desire you wrote to the far right hand side, okay? So then, and go ahead and pause the video so you can fill that out. Next, you're gonna write why right above that. So why do you want to do that thing right below it? So if, like I said, you already wrote your answer. So let's say the answer is, why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Well, I want to fit in a bathing suit. So then you're going to say, well, why do you want to fit in a bathing suit? Well, so I could feel better about myself, okay? So whatever the second answer is, you're going to write why. So now you're going to write an answer to the first one. Next, you're going to write, guess what you're going to write third time? Why? So why is that important? So like I said, well, I want to feel better about myself. So that was the second one. So well, why do you want to feel better about yourself? Well, because I know what it feels like to feel bad. Like, I know what it's like to get made fun of, or, to say, okay, great, so write that down. So I don't want to feel bad, okay? So I don't want to feel that pain. And then next, for the fourth one up, guess what you're going to write this time? You're going to write why again. So why don't you want to feel bad? Well, because when I was in second grade, I had a traumatic experience, and it really hurt me. And just write the answer for that why, for that third why. So why do you want to do that fourth thing? And then you're going to write. Guess what you're going to write this time? You're going to write why again. So whatever that is, right? Answer why to that previous answer. So why do you want to do that? So then now you're going really deep into your subconscious, your conscious, everything's like, oh my gosh, you're having to put all your thoughts out on paper, and you're just like, okay, this is where it gets the nitty gritty. And like I said, go ahead and pause the video if you need to right now. And then the final one, guess what that's gonna be? Why. So there we go, guys. So once you get to that, the fifth why, and I've heard this called the 5 whys, the 7 whys. I've heard it called the fishbone why, like basically you write a why to each one and it makes it looks like a fishbone anyways. I've heard it called a lot of different things, but guys, this is really gonna help you just really just hone in on what you want, why you want it. That way you can get crystal clear and focused on your particular goals. And what this is supposed to do, and what the whole point of this, is so you can visually see all your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, all on one sheet of paper. Hopefully, if you need to write on a separate sheet of paper, go right ahead. If you need to shorthand it, go right ahead. You may need to edit it. Maybe you'll need to write 2, 3 versions of this. Maybe you need to write a cleaned up version of this. But what I wanted to do initially is, you're gonna, make sure your background and your desires line up make sure everything lines up, and and like you want the actions to identify with your identity, because if you're not successful, you want to know why. If you're like, oh well, you know what, maybe I do need to work on my identity, or maybe I do need to work on my emotions. So that's what I really want this to be for you, is so you can look back and okay, this is what I need to focus on. It's kind of like your health. Like for instance, I like to work out. If one day I just don't feel good, I can usually pinpoint to what I did wrong the previous day. If I'm dehydrated, I didn't drink enough water that day or the day before. Maybe I just didn't rest well. Like I just cracked my back right now. Maybe I didn't sleep well on my back. That's what I want you to be able to do on a daily basis. Like if you don't feel good, I want you to be able to pinpoint exactly why. And that's kind of what I had to do. Like for instance, like emotions. Like I never experienced depression until I was like in my mid-30s. Like I was probably the happiest person you ever met. I was very optimistic my entire life. Even though I had a very negative, traumatic childhood, I didn't really care, to be honest with you. I was like, whatever. Like my stepdad beats me. Okay, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. He's a jerk, but that's him being a jerk. Doesn't mean I'm a jerk. And that was actually the thought I had when I was like 8 or 10 years old. I was like, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean I'm gonna have a bad day. I was like, you take out your emotions. Yeah, if I need to get spankings for something I did, then so be it. I'm still gonna go play with my friends. So I think that was a gift I got from God, that I just don't take other people's emotions personally, but that also made me a slight psychopath. So once I experienced depression, I saw the other side of that. I was like, oh my God, this really sucks. Like this is horrible. So I took all the positive and the negative and tried to make them who I am. And that's why I'm so compassionate about people now. I used to not be. I was always a nice person, I think. But I've learned compassion through my own pain, through my own sorrows that I had, so I've had to just kind of turn all these into a positive, because that's kind of what I wanted you to do too. Oh, I forgot to mention this too. So one of the things I want you to think about, and this is kind of what I've been doing recently, is on this side, I want you to write a negative name about yourself. So maybe like if you had a child, if you had like, I don't know, Hispanics are very mean when they come up with nicknames. They're never flattering nicknames. Let's say they called you gordo. So like maybe that's your negative name. Like maybe it's a name from the past you already had, like for instance, well, I'll just tell you my example. The name I came up with, Broke Gasper, because what I notice is when I'm struggling, when I'm not happy, when I'm just not doing well, I'm typically broke. So for me, like if I have to decide on what to do that day, I decide. Let me tell you the positive one first. The first one is Broke Gasper. That's the negative one. Like if I'm like, man, like I remember times in my life where I was sad or depressed. I was typically broke. Times where I was happy, I typically had money. Not always, but happy Gasper. So I have a Broke Gasper and a happy Gasper. So like for instance, if I have to decide, am I gonna run today or am I gonna sleep in? And I'm like, well, Broke Gasper never ran. So, maybe you need to be happy Gasper and go run today. Or Broke Gasper did this, but happy Gasper does that. So just kind of like, I need you to separate your old actions from your future actions. So write whatever name makes sense. And I'm actually gonna do that right now. I'm gonna write in blue for this one. So that's something I know I need to do. Anytime I'm deciding on what to do that day, or I don't know what decide from two things, I always, everything for me goes back to being Gasper, happy Gasper and Broke Gasper. And that was another reason why I wanted you to write all your actions on why. And that's what I forgot to mention, is that fifth why or seventh why, whatever it is, that's what you need to focus on. That's what's gonna get you to your dreams. So like, once you got to the fifth why, it may be something so basic. I just want to be happy. And that's what it was for me. I just wanted to be happy. Like I didn't care. I never cared about money. Like money always came and went. I had times in my life where I made really good money. Like I made like 6 figures in my mid-20s, which most people don't do. And I was extremely happy. But it wasn't until I started chasing money that I started to go broke. That's crazy, right? Like I started selling insurance, and at first it was just fun. Like I enjoyed the sorry guys, there's like a, here in Mexico, the gas trucks make like music and stuff, so people know that you can go get gas. Anyway, sorry about that. But that's what I noticed when I was chasing money. I was broke, and I was sad, and I was miserable. When I was just chasing happiness and who I am, and I was just being who I am as a person, is when I had money. Complete opposite of what society tells us. So that's kind of another reason I wanted this exercise for you, is when you I feel, what I've realized lately is your inner child is your inner guide. Like the things you love to do is what's going to make you happy, and you'll be able to make an income off it. And I remember that when I was a kid, I was probably like 3rd grade. I was like, Mom, we had like, I think it was like career day at school or something. I don't remember. I remember asking my mom, and I was like, Mom, like, how do you, I think I asked her, like, how do you pick your career, or how do you pick your job? Because she was going to school to be a teacher. She's a teacher now. She's been a teacher like over 20 years, and she loves it. But I was like, how do you pick your job? How do you pick your career? And she's like, Gasper, find something you love to do, and the money will find a way to get to you. And I just remember thinking like, and I just remember like as a 10-year-old or 8-year-old, however old I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, I don't remember exactly. I remember like, my mind just exploded. I was like, that's it? I was like, that's awesome. Like there's lots of stuff I love to do. And that's what I did in my 20s. My first job, I worked at a restaurant, which most people think like, oh, a restaurant's a crappy job. But I became like the owner operator within like 2 years because I loved it. I loved hanging out with my friends. I loved everything about it. It also didn't hurt that my uncle was an owner operator, so I didn't know any better. Like I thought everybody was I thought the goal of getting that job was to be an owner operator. So, but I loved it. I loved the job. And then after that, I went to managing bars and restaurants. Made pretty good money doing that because I started as at the top. I was like, hey, I was an owner operator, like what job can you give me? So I always made decent money. And it wasn't until I started selling insurance that like I did okay the first couple months, but like I always had those limiting beliefs. And it's because I didn't have everything in line. Like I said, because like I said, insurance wasn't like my career path. It was just, and I always had this feeling like it was just going to take me to my next level. So if I would have not had those limiting beliefs, I probably would have made 6, maybe even 7 figures selling insurance. But I mean, like I said, I'm really glad the path that led me in life. But I always wondered, like, what if I would have had all my mental blocks and my negative experience all lined up before? But obviously, we can't look back with resentment. We have to be grateful for everything. And one of the things I forgot to mention too is all your negative experiences, sometimes you're going to have to forgive people that didn't ask for help. Like, you may look at your background and be like, well, how can I overcome what I've lived through, what I've dealt with? But you just gotta let it go, man. Like you just gotta forgive. Like I said, with my stepdad, he never asked for forgiveness. He never, never apologized. He ended up passing away about, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. I don't even know, to be honest with you. When he passed away, I was just kind of like, well, good riddance, But I'd already forgiven him, so I didn't really care. I didn't even bother going to his funeral. But it's because I moved on. Like it wasn't, I had nothing to like, I didn't need closure, if that makes sense. So you may have to do that to your past. You may have to reconcile with people that never asked for your forgiveness. And also too, with your environment, like you may have to like say, hey, you know what, I am in a shitty situation, but I'm gonna get out of it. And that was the whole point of this exercise, guys. And what I've learned is once you learn how to get out of rock bottom, there's no limit to how high you can climb. Like once you learn how to figure all this stuff out, there's no limit to where you can go, where you can take it. Like I said, I've had great experiences in my life. I've had bad experiences, but what I've learned is I always come out on top. I usually come out stronger, smarter. Even right now, I've been in Cancun for almost a year. Things didn't go as planned, but like I'm still completely optimistic about everything. That's why I wanted to do all this, because I was like, I feel really good about the future. But I was like, how do I ensure that everything is in line, all those the systems check out, everything makes sense. So guys, I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Like I said, this all makes sense to me, but it may not make sense to you. But if there's anything I can help you with, just let me know in the comments side. Thanks.